At Pure Jade, we believe success and fulfillment in anything begins with physical and mental wellness. By improving your mood and helping your body operate at peak performance, we believe you can achieve any goal you aspire to. Our wellness products are designed to offer natural stress reduction, boost mood, improve physical recovery, and fight off inflammation to help you be at your best. Try Pure Jade CBD and experience elevated wellness. For more information, go to www.purejade.com. That's www.purejayde.com and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Welcome back, all my wonderful people, to Shia Proceed. I'm your host, Erlene Mango, aka Elise Main, and I'm here with another amazing guest, woman of color, doing amazing big boss things. I hear Miss Tandee Salter. Tandee is an empowerment speaker, coach, podcaster, and author of quite a few books. Let me just name a few of the books for you. 100 Words of Inspiration, Walk by Faith Journal, and Reclaiming Your Vision, and Doubting Doubt. Like, I love that one, Doubting Doubt, which is absolutely amazing. And you have your own podcast called The Tandee Salter Show, a podcast bringing empowerment and education to female entrepreneurs. Please welcome Miss Tandee Salter to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. The world is sad, but I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So doing good, doing good. So, I gave a small rundown, but clearly I probably didn't do you any justice. So please tell everyone once again what exactly that you do, and also what was your motivation to start your platform to empower women and entrepreneurs?
Well, see, what I do is I serve as a coach and a trainer. I help women become more confident leaders in
Mhm.
life, business, their career, wherever you are, because you're a leader in all areas of your life and you just want to recognize that. I think it started from my own experience, learning how to rebuild my confidence and learning how to stand firm in who I am. So that's the main thing. And I love it. It's just like, if I just found like this is my place, this is where I'm supposed to be.
You found your purpose. You found your purpose in life, which is
Mm-hmm.
hard for many of us. Many of us are still battling finding our purpose and finding our way. And as women, for me, I think a lot of us, our confidence breaks down early. We think we've conquered it, and then something triggers it again, and you feel like you've been dropped down. And society tends to compare us to each other or put time limits or deadlines on what life should be for us. And I would love to know, have you always had confidence growing up? If you didn't, when did you reclaim it? When did you lose it? What was the pivotal mark in your life that said, okay, listen, this is what I need to do because of this happening? So what was your moment? What was your aha moment?
Um, I started with confidence because of the environment I was raised in, encouraged to always do what it is I wanted to do or go after my dreams. But then I would say maybe middle school, high school, I experienced some bullying where I was like really torn down. I even had a teacher tell me I couldn't be a public speaker. They told me that was unreasonable. I
Mm.
had like other kids tease me for being the smart girl, and people tell me I had too much book sense and not enough common sense. So I'm like, maybe I should like back down and be quiet a little bit. And so I kind of like shut down, in a sense. And so I wasn't the same person anymore. And I want to say maybe in college, I started to find myself again and really get in touch with who I am. And my mom passed in my senior year when I was working on my bachelor's degree. And I kind of shut down for a little while dealing with grief. But like even while she was in the hospital before she passed, she would tell me, encourage me to go ahead and go to class, that she would be okay. And it's like, okay, I can do this no matter what. And so even now, with the work that I do with women, is I always remember my mom, like her memory, how much she encouraged me and how much she loved to pour into like young women, especially like the teen girls in the church or even volunteering at like Girls Inc. or Boys and Girls Club. So I think it's always been a part of me. I just had to rebuild after being told no or that I couldn't do something for so long.
And what's interesting with your story is, like you said, you always had it. Of course, your mom was pouring it into you growing up. So you had the foundation for it. But what many people don't understand, the outside factors tend to break you down. So no matter what you may say to your sisters or your children, yeah, you're my family. After a while, it's like, you're my family. You're my mom. Of course, you're going to tell me that I'm amazing. Of course, you're going to tell me you can do all these things. But when you walk outside that door and a stranger tells you or your teacher tells you you can't do something, and you're around them most of the day because of school, it's heartbreaking, and it's hard to build back up from that, especially as being women. I've heard so many times my own friends or other people saying, oh, because you're smart you think you better, or you're that smart person. It's amazing. And from my age group, you heard more kids being put down for being smart or because they could do something or speak well. And it's like, why are y'all bullying because the person, and yeah, we all need common sense. I get that. Absolutely. You don't be taken advantage of, but it was almost, it's, when you look back at it, it's sad because that was their way of insecurity. And we see it as we get older when people put you down because they're not able to do what you do, they think, or they try to knock you down because they've knocked themselves down. They don't have the confidence to do what you do. And I've noticed as being an entrepreneur and being in business, you get that negativity. Why are you doing that? Everyone's doing that. Everyone has a podcast. Everyone has this. Everyone has that. Well, that's great.
Absolutely.
That I know. Isn't it wonderful we all can eat at the same table? Isn't it great the table's big enough?
It is. And it's
Isn't
plenty
it?
of room. And what like really like makes no what people have to understand is like bullying and peer pressure doesn't stop when you become an adult. In some cases, it actually gets worse as an adult. So you want to continue to try to build yourself up. I remember a couple of years ago, I had invested in a business coach, and in the beginning, everything was good, and people were like always recommending her. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna sign up too. It's like I'm gonna learn something too. And then I got to a point where I was deciding where I wanted to do what I'm doing now. I wanted to work with more leaders. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, I told her, I was like, I want to train women and leaders. I want to do like leadership training and coaching for women. And she pretty much told me it was stupid, that no one would want it, and that it wouldn't sell. And I was like, but companies hire leadership trainers all the time.
All the
Companies even
time.
have internal leadership training departments, they hire external people. But because it came from someone I respected at the time, for someone I thought that was supposed to look out for me and help me grow, it really crushed me. And I was like, this is, as an adult, it can happen, because we all have coaches and mentors that we look to for support and encouragement. When that person you look to does not give you that encouragement, it hurts you, and it can cause you to shut down again and like question yourself. I'm like, wait a minute, do I really have the skills to do this?
Yeah. I did an interview yesterday and we were talking about, I was saying how, or a few interviews ago, that many of us, but since we're speaking about women, we carry other people's trauma and disappointment. We're not raised to be fearful. We're not raised, you're not born with that. Everything's a learned condition that you have to break
Mm-hmm.
away from. And even though you were raised in a positive environment, that particular mentor pushed upon you what she probably got from someone else. Being a woman, you can't do that. And instead of her encouraging you and uplifting you, thinking, you know what, use my shoulders and do what I couldn't do, and that's amazing. She tried to pull you down, and that's just sad when amongst women you have that jealousy and that insecurity, and that we're trying to fight right now. Which I'm seeing more of it now, of positivity and encouragement, upliftment. But it's an ugly cycle to notice how people can be so jealous and envious of your positivity, how you want
Mhm.
misery loves company, right? So you're miserable, you want to bring me down with you so I never succeed. And I'm glad that you're able to find your confidence again and rise above her telling her telling you can't do that. But that's awful. You get made fun of in school because you're smart. Now you're out of school and it's getting hit again. You start wondering, did you ever question, why am I getting just beat up like this? Did you ever question that?
I did. I really did. I questioned it a lot, but thanks to my mom and like growing up in church, one thing that kind of stuck with me was that everything I go through is for somebody else. So everything that I learn is for me to be able to teach and help somebody else. Like it's always going to be some type of message. There's always going to be a testimony afterwards. And it's hard while going through the middle of that trauma or that frustration, but still knowing in the back of my head that it's going to work out for my good in the end has always stuck with me. So I'm like, okay, it's something better is coming. I'm going to get a breakthrough. Something is going to help somebody else. It's going to help me and it's going to help somebody else. I'll be able to better help another woman because I've been through this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when did you start? You went to school. What was your major in college?
My bachelor's is in sociology and my master's is in public administration.
I love
So
sociology. I have a double bachelor's in sociology and history. I love sociology. So when did you decide to take all that you learned and what your mother poured into you and actually start your business helping women? When did you start doing that?
I started in 2014. I made up
Okay.
the decision that I finally wanted to get out there and start coaching. I was still working full-time job at that time, and at that point, I was like a senior representative. So I was helping train new agents and teaching them the ways and the policies within the company. So it was like kind of like an awakening, taking what I was doing on my job into doing what I really wanted to do as an entrepreneur. And then as I started to step out and just write out like notes and ideas, I realized I had been doing it a long time.
Mhm.
Every single job I've ever had, I was always eventually promoted to positions where I was mentoring or training new employees. So, and even growing up, my cousins and sisters always looked up to me. I was in Girl Scouts and all sorts of extracurricular activities, always being pushed into leadership positions and always looking back, helping to help and train other people. So it's always been in me, but I didn't have that full awakening until I actually get started until 2014.
It's hard finding your purpose, right? Like you're like, oh,
Yeah,
this is everything. You're like, is this what I'm supposed to do? Sometimes you think, no, this is not what I'm supposed to do. But like, no, it's been shown to you what your purpose is. And sometimes we tend to like shun and look away from it because you never realize, oh, that's what I've been building these skills for. And it's okay to keep working while you build your empire. You gain so much
exactly.
knowledge. Sometimes you just can't quit. You have to
Absolutely.
build your knowledge and build your empire because you learn from every bit of life experience shows you different things. So when did you write your first book?
The first book, it's actually an anthology I was a part of, was 20 Beautiful Women, Volume 2.
Mhm.
It came out in, was it April 2015 was the first anthology I participated in. It's just pretty much sharing my story of how I actually found my purpose. And what I actually tell people is I didn't necessarily find it. I kind of dug it out because the truth is our purpose is already inside of us,
Mhm.
but we let it get buried under what society says we should be, under what family and friends said we should be, under doubts and insecurities. So you can really have to pull all that stuff out to really get to your purpose because it's already inside of you. Just like I've always been like coaching or training or mentoring other people, it's always inside of you. Sometimes you just have to dig it out.
So since you've been through so much, uplifted growing up, knocked down again, and you have women come to you who are seeking your guidance and your help, how do you maintain the motivation when you hear the stories or have someone who really is struggling? How do you pull them out of that hole they may be in and realize that you have it in you to keep pushing forward?
It's really a process, and I think it starts with first, like recognizing what you have in you. I'm big on journaling, so I encourage everybody grab a journal, pen, paper, notebook. You type it out if you have to. Just kind of like dump everything out. And one of my favorite things to have clients do, or even when I do trainings, is to have everybody get a piece of paper, write down everything you've accomplished in your life. And that immediately helps to start rebuilding confidence because you realize that you've accomplished more than you think and you're stronger than you think. And even the things you think that are small actually matter. So I was like, just start there. If you start with one thing, you can build from there.
And it's amazing when I'm not big on writing. I just think my brain moves too faster than my hands can write. But I've heard that so many times that when I go to therapy, write it out. And I've started writing things out and just taking my time and slowing down. And it really is therapeutic. It really makes me, it pulls out a different honesty out of myself that I may not recognize, you know what I mean? Like write down your
Hmm.
accomplishments and you're thinking, well, I don't really do much when you just talk about it. But if you have to write everything down and then I've had someone tell me, okay, well, what about this? What about that? I'm like, oh yeah, and you look at the paper and you're like, oh wow, I've done a
Most
lot.
people run out of room on the paper.
Yeah, it's like I've done a lot. I didn't think about that. And it's funny how do you help women not compare themselves to other people's accomplishments? You know,
Mm.
how do you navigate that with your clients?
First, we have to remember that comparison is a trap and it will keep you stuck. And I joke about it, but it's totally serious. Like,
Hmm.
don't compare yourself to people on social media because half of them aren't that happy. They're only showing you the happy. There are people that are only showing you the happy moments. And then
Hmm.
there's also the people that are stealing pictures from Google to try to make it look. And then there's people that rent Airbnbs and rent cars for their photo shoots to try
Yep.
to make it look better than what it really is.
Mhm.
And understand that there's always a story behind the scenes. In the same way they tell you don't judge a book by its cover, don't judge another woman or man by their Facebook images.
Absolutely. And I cannot stand the hashtag goals because you never know what's behind that curtain. You never
Right. You
know.
don't know how many tears they cried. You don't know how many nights they stayed up late. And like a friend of mine works in domestic violence victims and
Hmm.
she always compares the whole idea of being happily ever after to the fact that the Disney movies end at happily ever after, but they never show you what happens after the marriage. They don't show you what happens behind closed doors. So you can't always assume you want your life to be like someone else's.
Absolutely. And it's amazing that we no matter how many times you may tell us not to do it, it happens. And even if you're not doing it to
Mhm.
yourself, someone's going to come in and say, well, why aren't you married yet? Why haven't you finished school yet? Or are you sure you're doing that? Are you sure you're doing it the right way? Well, that's you want to open a business. Well, so and so had a business and it didn't do well. Like, why are you walking around here hitting me with this negativity?
Absolutely. And usually, like, I have like rules. One thing I always tell people is don't compare me to anybody else. If
Hmm.
someone says something to don't compare me to anybody else. I'm Tandy. There is no other Tandy. And
Right.
also, I always say statistics don't apply to me.
Hmm.
When I started school for my bachelor's, I remember having a course where the instructor told us on average, it takes people 4.5 and 6 to 6 years to complete a 4 year degree. Me determined not to fit that statistic. I really buckled down. I took full load every semester. I took classes during the summer. I even did like the short
The
like
little
May
minis.
semester class,
Mhm.
the mini courses, just to make sure that I would get done on time. And I actually finished my bachelor's in 3 years. So I tell people statistics don't apply to me. And then with me being a millennial, it's, oh, millennials are lazy. Millennials are entitled. Statistics don't apply to me. I work very hard for everything that I have. So I tell them they don't have to apply to you either. If they only apply to you if you accept them.
Do you find it difficult to, we're a very label heavy society now. And I would have to say it started maybe 6, 7 years ago with being very heavily labeled with
Mhm.
I can't even think about it, but everything's a label and everything's a hashtag, everything's a lump together. And it's hard to not get offended by being lumped in the same category as other things when you know you're different. And we can tell people
Mhm.
just don't worry about it. But it's really hard when it's pounded in you all the time. You turn the TV on, open up your phone, flip open your laptop screen. It's like, why is everybody just pounding this on all of us? And I think as women, it's so difficult. And a woman of color, there's so many labels that do not belong to all of us. I mean, granted, there's exceptions. Let's be real, it's out there. So how do you navigate? Of course, don't compare you, but how do you feel when the comparison still keeps going? How do you brush it off and not let it get to you? And how do you mentor your women to do the same thing?
For me, like, even though they still come, even though I ask people don't compare me to other people or don't label me,
Hmm.
I really have to remember who I am. And it's not always easy. Sometimes you have to talk to yourself. I'm big on positive language and positive words because we know life and death is in the power of the tongue. My One of my books is a book of affirmations. It's 21 days of affirmations for the millennial woman. Just speak positive things over yourself. And secondly, even though people will say what they want, sometimes you need to put yourself in a new environment. If you're constantly in an environment that is degrading or bringing you down or trying to put labels on you, find you another community to be a part of. Find a community that's uplifting, that's encouraging, that is positive. Because once you do that, you get a whole new label placed on you because it's a different mindset and a different group of people. And some people also, they don't understand because no one has ever told them that they're beautiful or that they're smart. So they try to tear other people down. So if you try and it doesn't work, you need to move to another community. You don't have to stay anywhere that's uncomfortable, anywhere that brings you down or that discourages you.
Do you find it difficult for people overall to get out of the mindset of what they're used to? In speaking of yourself, and you said your mom had always poured into you positivity. That was your original mindset. So everything else was not natural. That was, you know, put upon you. But to get back to positivity was a natural thing for you because that's all you knew. When you have women and men who have only known negativity, saying to them to change the environment, change the company, that may be difficult if all they know is negativity. So how do you keep them encouraged to know that there's other, because I've noticed for me, when I meet someone who's only known negative and they really want positive, it's hard for them to even accept or trust the positivity coming at them. They're like, what? This can't be real. What do you say about that?
It starts with the relationship.
Hmm.
Because of the fact that they've always been around negative things and they don't have a regular positively poured into them, you have to build relationship with them. And that's understanding where they are and where they come from and take your time to really get to know them, let them get to know you, because as you build your relationship, then they will start to trust you in what you have to say. And as you continue to pour into them, they'll start to believe it. I don't want to, for lack of better terms, it's almost like you're brainwashing them by building a relationship with them.
Absolutely.
Because your relationship gets stronger, the more positive they become. And it's definitely harder if all they've known is negative. So that's why you take your time. Like, relationships are everything. I don't care if you're in business, if you're dating, if you're on a job, if you're doing interviews, relationship is everything. If you're not good at building relationships, that's when you're going to struggle.
And I fully agree with you. I have a slight bias, prejudice, and I hate to say it. I have a slight bias because when I meet people who do not have healthy friendships or relationships, it scares me. When you say, "Oh, I don't have any friends or any relationships," it it scares me because I wonder about a certain level of not much, I don't want to say maturity, but I wonder about those skills, those fundamental skills that you develop when you're younger as you're playing on the playground and you make friends and you learn to fight and make up, y'all back friends again, and how you communicate. If you don't have any friends or you don't build relationships, how are you functioning in life?
You're not in. Don't laugh. It's kind of
No, I'm
sometimes
sorry,
for
but it's
me.
true. Yeah.
But look, sometimes for me, it gets a little scary when I see or hear people like that, because I watch a lot of shows like Criminal Minds and Law and Order,
Love it.
and those are the type of people that like become psychopaths and mass murderers. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, it's kind of scary. You're saying you don't have any friends. That guy on that episode of Criminal Minds didn't have any friends either. But it goes back to like the childhood and being raised around other children and learning how to communicate with other people. Now, there are some people who say they don't have any friends, but they're a little open to trying to figure this thing out. But then there's other people that are closed minded. And unfortunately, we can't help everybody. And they're that closed minded. Don't burden yourself trying to carry their load, because it will only bring you down. You do the best you can, and then you move on. You let them know the door is open for you to help them or support them or encourage them. But if they don't walk through the door, there's nothing you can do. It's like that saying they have where you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it.
It's I, we connected on that. I was like, yeah, because I think of on Criminal Minds, um, not it's not I think my Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory, not Sheldon Cooper. He's one of them too. But on you just think about people when you watch those shows and you hate to label someone something based off of
Mm-hmm.
TV show, but once you get to know someone and you invest in, okay, what's really going on, these layers, and you find out they may have not had the best relationship with either parents, either one or the other parent, something was going on, was negative, or they were sheltered in some type of way, or they were inherited someone else's trauma of people are not good, stay away from them, and they just close off. And like you said, you want to be there as much as you can, but then your own mental wellness starts declining because you're going to get pulled into, you're trying to pull them up, but they end up pulling you down. And I guess you really can't save everyone. You have to make sure, you have to be aware of your own personal wellness. Absolutely. So I
Look,
love,
and it does not help. Look, and it does not help that I majored in sociology with a minor in psychology. I've been studying people
listen, I majored in
forever.
history. I
That's what
did
I do.
history
I
and
study people.
sociology. Mine was history and sociology. And I love, you see how things repeat themselves. Okay. So you already see, like, we've been down this road
Hmm.
before. And in sociology, when you study people and like, and groups and what happens, and when you look at the news and you're like, we did a project on this decade. I saw these things. And
Exactly. It makes you think that every day is the sociology experiment. I'm like, wait a minute,
mhm,
what's going on?
we can have a great report. We can write some papers on what's going on in this world right now. Absolutely.
Like, I can write an intense research paper.
And not have to go too far for research. Like, you don't have to go too far. It's so amazing how people think this is brand new, and it's not. These behaviors have always been here. It's just that social media and technology have made it have put it in your face, but it's always been here, and it's just now
Absolutely.
it's
Nothing
just
new.
there's nothing new. Nothing, which is sad because that means we haven't made any great changes that we need to make because it just keeps happening and happening and happening. But behavior is behavior and it's learned from something. Um, so tell me what made you so you already discussed about your mentorship. What made you turn it into a podcast? That's a whole nother leap and a whole nother full-time job right there. So tell me what made you turn into a podcast.
I also do public speaking and
Mhm,
I've done live stream videos for a couple years. I don't do them as often as I used to, but what I found is I really don't like doing live videos as much,
mhm,
but I still like having conversations and talking to people and sharing what I have and whatever it is on my mind at the moment.
mhm.
So a friend of mine was like, "Well, try podcasting." I was like, "Okay, I'll try it out." So I did a couple of solo episodes and I was like, "Okay, this is cool." Then I started doing interviews and I was like, "I like this. I like this conversation. I like interviewing other entrepreneurs and people getting their wisdom and knowledge because I get to learn new things. I get to have new things shared with my audience. It's another way to empower people. And the podcasts are portable. You don't have to sit down to watch them. So it's just like I had another awakening moment. It's like, this is what I like to do.
Absolutely. And I also know I was reading some of your blogs. I love the last one you did a few days ago, yesterday. It's time to let the oil flow. So, and you said you're a writer, you love putting pen to paper. So, and you also attach video with your blogs. So, do you prefer doing that as well, along with the podcasting, blogging?
Yes, I do because I've always been a writer for as long as I remembered. In fact, it's how I used to communicate with my mom. Like when I didn't know how to express what was in my mind or how I was
Mhm.
feeling, I would write it down, and then when I got ready to talk about it, I would give it the paper, and then that just that started the conversation. And so I've been doing it for as probably as long as I've been able to write. I actually entered my first poetry contest when I was in the third grade. And so I love blogging. I love writing. And what I love about like technology and social media is I don't always have to write something new. I can use some of the same content from my blog in my podcast and expand upon it, and it works both ways, and it's just another way to communicate because I know not everyone is going to listen to the podcast, but they may read the blog. It's just whatever works for them, and that's the same way. Well, some people like videos, so I push myself outside of my comfort zone to do the videos for people that enjoy the videos, to
Working
make sure that
smart,
I'm
not
connecting.
hard.
Exactly. Making sure that I'm connecting with them and they're getting what they need.
So, where can we find So if I wanted to have you mentor me, tell me, how would I do that? Where can I find the information? What goes into that? So how would I find you to have you mentor me and help me as an entrepreneur?
Okay. To get help as an entrepreneur, you just get started at bit.ly/talk to Tandy. Book that free clarity call. That allows me to get to know you a little bit and exactly what your needs, so I can give you the best information, like the best. I don't want to just give you, hey, I have this, and this service
Mhm.
available. I want to be able to give you the service that fits your needs. I'm not one thing that actually, I can't even get the word out. Actually grinds my gears is people that are just after the money.
Mm,
I love helping people and making an impact on people. People matter way more than money. So if you come to me and you only need something that's $97, I'm not going to try to sell you something that's $29.97 because that's not fair. That's not integrity. That's not excellence. That's just not how I move. And I've learned that over the years, just give people what they need. Stop trying to focus on yourself.
absolutely. Do you find that with other entrepreneurs, I think I want to say what I've noticed over the years, and I guess I'm I love seeing people use their gift to empower others because everyone's not meant to have the business, but some people are meant to teach you how to have the tools to do what you need to do, if that makes any sense. But
Mhm.
what bothers me sometimes, like you said, when people start doing it all about the money and they no longer care for the person, then the quality of service is totally out the window. And I think after a while, people feel that you don't really care. You just want my monthly subscription, or you just want me to pay you, but you're not even catering to what my needs are. And it seems like you're truly trying to cater to each individual woman's needs. And that was some thunder. I was like, at a moment, cater to each person's needs, and I think that's absolutely amazing. So give me that website again, or the link.
It's bit.ly/talk to Tandy.
Nice, and that's on your website and everything.
Let's see. I believe so. We've made some changes, but if not, I'll make sure it's there.
Oh, well, just send
Even
it to me. I want to make sure I have
if you
all
go
that.
if you go to my website at tandeesalter.com, you can also just fill out the contact form as well on the
Okay,
contact page.
and I'll make sure that it's all in the description, people. So when you want to reach out to Tandy, you know where to find her. I do want to ask you about your last blog post. It's time to let the oil flow. And I love it because it's short and sweet and simple, just the words. And I want to know, what was your motivation behind it? You said you are a leader and it's time to stop leaving people empty. You are responsible for using your gifts to serve other people and pouring into them. I love that. The longer you refuse to let what is inside of you flow, the longer you will keep someone else stuck. You better you better preach on that little blog right there. What was your motivation with that particular blog post?
That particular one, it was where did that? It was an extension of, I have an accountability community that I'm a part of, and one thing I shared with them was that we hold back sometimes what's inside of us when we're really designed to help other people. And it also goes back to scriptures. I was reading Second Kings, where Elijah went to the widow, and they were coming to the debt collectors were coming to her and demanding for her to give them her sons, because back in that time, when there's a debt to be paid and her husband had passed away, it was for her sons to go work off the debt. And he asked her what she had in her house, and she said nothing but a jar of oil. And so he told her to go borrow vessels from her neighbors. So in our place as entrepreneurs and as leaders, we have the oil, which is ourselves and our gifts, and the vessels that we need to go and gather from our neighbors and around us are the people we're responsible for serving. And so rather than saying you have everything you need in your house, which was the case for the widow, what I'm saying, you have what you need inside of you. It's just like when you're trying to find your purpose, it's not something outside of you. It's already within you, and you have to really start letting it flow. Let your gifts shine. Release them. Stop trying to hide them. Stop trying to bury them and pretending that they don't matter, because they matter. And it's your responsibility to use what you have to help somebody else go to their next level.
Well, amen. I love it. When I read that, and I was just going through everything you had before we started talking for the past few days. And I was like, and I just kept going back to that. I was like, that makes so much sense, that you have to give to other people. It's the ultimate gift and it's the ultimate blessing. When you have this gift, why are you holding on to it? That's a disservice to yourself. And the gift that God put in you, your purpose, if you're not sharing your purpose and your gifts, it's almost like you're sinning against God and yourself. Like, I gave you a gift, I gave you purpose in life. You know what it is, and you're not using it. And someone needs it, and once you give it to them, you're not going to be empty. That's like when you don't open the faucet, you're just building up. You need to let that flow and give to other people. So I appreciated reading that blog, and it made so much sense, because sometimes we get discouraged and think no one's hearing you or anyone's listening, and you're not reaching the reach, or you're thinking, I've only helped so many people, but those few people or those few voices that heard you, those few ears, be it one or two or five or 1,000, they're going to spread that knowledge. And then, so you may have spoken to one, but that one voice is going to keep making it multiply and multiply. So it's all about not being discouraged, right? And just knowing that keep spreading your gift. It doesn't matter how many.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to say, I thoroughly enjoy talking to you. You are an amazing woman. I love your platform. I loved your blog posts. I love consistency. Like I went to your blogs and I'm like, I'm just reading. I love the consistency. I love the message has been the same throughout. And it really has encouraged me to keep going further. We all have our moments, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
my story is similar to yours. My mom was my ultimate cheerleader. And she was the one who I always tell, my mom passed away in 2014. And I tell people, they ask me, why do you do what you do? I said, because my mother's prayers before I got here and after she left me are still flowing. And I can't waste her prayers. She prayed for me before I got here and when I was in her belly. And she prayed for me when she was walking this earth. And she already had it in her mind that I'm going to be great and I know my purpose. So how dare I waste her prayers? She was my cheerleader. She was the one who told me that I can do anything, no matter what anyone says. You can do whatever you want. You're going to do. And then I'm like, okay. And of course, you have those outside factors, but I know I can always go back to her, and she hits me with that. She filled me back up with that encouragement. I kept going, and when I was reading about you and looking into you, I'm like, this is truly what we need right now as women, to be encouraged by each other, for each other, no matter what, with true positive intent and love. And Tandee, I really appreciate all that you do. I want everyone to please follow you and please let me know all your social media, where we can find you.
So I've made it super easy for you guys to find me. Everything is Tandee Salter. My website is tandeesalter.com. My Facebook is Tandee Salter. My Instagram is Tandee Salter.
Listen,
LinkedIn is Tandee
if
Salter.
you can't find Tandee Salter, then you weren't looking, right? It's
Absolutely. My podcast is the Tandee
Tandee
Salter
Salter
Show. I'm
Show.
on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and several other platforms. If you just Tandee Salter.
Amen. Thank you so much. Do you have a YouTube channel as well?
Tandee Salter.
Listen. Tandee, thank you so very much for taking the time to sit with me today. I really appreciate it. I hope and I know this has really encouraged and motivated so many people. And I hope it just gained you more people you can help. And I want to say thank you because you've helped me in this short period of time. Everyone, please make sure you follow Tandee Salter because she's everywhere. Just type in her name and you will find her under Tandee Salter. And if you need any motivation or any
Absolutely.
help, go to her website, contact her, and get what you need. Until next time, thank y'all so very much.